I usually don't chime in on all the social media stuff just because it changes so quickly, and I don't like to get into back and forth with anybody about stuff like that. Anyway, but this one I felt like I needed to. Not number one because I watched the podcast episode and I had my own thoughts regarding it. But then number two, because I work, like my platform is on empowering women, and a lot of them are women that are in leadership positions, like this woman here, who have all of these views around what relationships look like that are completely unhealthy, and yeah, so I felt like I needed to chime in on this one. So if you haven't seen it, it's a video podcast about a woman who's endured like all this kind of abuse from her now pastor husband. He wasn't a pastor then, but he is a pastor now. Pastor husband, and I'm talking about like abuse, like cheating, infidelity, all of the grounds, right? Which, and my belief as a Christian, that are grounds for divorce. But she stated that she felt like she was graced for um, this role, or being his wife. And I had my own thoughts. Now, she did say several times throughout the interview that she felt like she was graced for it. She knew that she herself struggled with self-esteem issues, and that was part of the reason why she stayed in it. And I wanted to give my own thoughts because the reality is a lot of women, especially women that are in leadership, high achieving women, they stay in these relationships thinking that the same thing that worked for you achieving all of these accolades or whatever, they think it's the same concept applies to relationships. And I teach people that relationships, you have to work at them, but it should not always have to be hard. If it's hard to the degree of where there's abuse and you're constantly fighting, constantly arguing, infidelity, all of these things, baby, you don't know what listen, you don't have to subject yourself to any type of abuse or self-sacrifice, self-abandoning, because that's what that is when you're not paying attention to how you feel, or you putting someone else's feelings over yourself, or you're putting up with all of these things for the sake of the relationship. But in the meanwhile, you're dwindling away. Like the lady even talked about times where she you had mental health struggles and didn't know whether or not she wanted to be alive. Like when it gets to that place to where you're starting to sacrifice your own mental health, your own sense of safety, your children's sense of safety, to prove some kind of false sense of loyalty, because that's what it is. It's a false sense of loyalty to a person. Then that's the time when we need to look at maybe, okay, this relationship is not working. And I wanted to challenge women, because I do this, like this is what I do, to really look at this thing differently, because the reality is when women are in that predicament, that somewhere along the way, like probably before they even got with that person, they encountered some kind of rejection or abandonment. And a lot of times when you're struggling like with emotional wounds, probably from childhood, then it impacts what it looks like when you go into a relationship. Because if you're used to people walking away from you, excuse me, if you're used to people walking away from you, especially the people that love you, supposed to provide for you, take care of you, all that, if you're used to them walking away from you, or you're used to them not meeting your emotional needs, then you typically go in relationships expecting that the other person is going to fulfill that void that you didn't get from childhood, but not knowing that you're attracting that same type of partner to your life because you're used to them abandoning you in a certain way. Like you're used to being abandoned, you're used to being neglected, you're used to being rejected. And so when it happens inside of a relationship, it only continues to feed that cycle. So the key is to deal with the pain. That's the key. That's the reason why a lot of my videos are around emotional wounds. That's the reason why a lot of my videos focus on like what does self-care look like, holistic self-care, not the pretty, let's go get our nails done, let's go get our makeup done, face done, facials done. Not that, but holistic self-care says, what do I need mentally, physically, emotionally? What do I need spiritually? What do I need in order for me to move forward in my life? Are there people, relationships, things in my life that are hindering me from getting to my next level? And if they are, then what do I need to do with this? I may need to look at limiting them. I don't believe that we have to cut off everybody. There are some people that you have to cut off. There are even in marriage, like there are some things that you have to do to even put boundaries up in marriage. Let's talk about that. Boundaries in marriage, because you should have boundaries inside of marriage, and people do not teach that, especially in the Christian community. Like we for some reason, especially I'm in the South, so I see this all the time. These women abandoning themselves, self-abandoning their dreams and their lives for the sake of their husbands or for the sake of their children, and that's absolutely not healthy. There are some women who are, sorry, I gotta call the intern. Gotta call phone it too. But yeah, there are some people that, that are called to be mothers. I believe that there are some people that are called to serve in different capacities that may look different from how traditional or how we view or how I view a relationship. I know that I am called to be a mother, I'm called to be a wife, but because those are the roles that I'm in. But I also know that I'm called to build a business. I know I'm called to mental health. I know those are other things that I'm also called to. And God doesn't say, okay, you need to go focus on just your children, because one day your children are gonna get grown, and then what are you gonna do? Or God didn't say you just need to go focus on building your marriage, because one day your marriage is gonna be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and you're gonna grow old, or you're gonna mature in that relationship, and then you're left with what are we gonna do? And real marriages don't work if one person's always focusing on the other person. Like that didn't work that way. Like healthy marriages are you showing up with 100% of yourself, and they showing up with 100% of themselves, and you together come together to make a team and figure out what's best for your family at that season of your life, or what's best for the marriage at that season of the marriage. That's healthy marriages. It's not one person always focusing on the other. That's just not feasible for any relationship. Um, and so God doesn't say you can put everything up else on the shelf and just focus on one thing. He doesn't do that. If he's placed something in you, if he's giving you an assignment to do, if he's giving you certain gifts, talents, or skills, then he's going to require a return on that. He requires a return on anything, any investments that he put in us. And if you have a certain gift, certain thing that is in you, then he wants a return. He doesn't just want okay, I'm going to give you back what you give to me. No, he wants some interest on what he's giving you. So if he's called you to sing, then he don't want you to just be able to sing solo. He wants you to be able to sing solo with the group, be able to teach parts. Like he wants some interest. Like we should always be growing. He didn't just call me to be a therapist. He called me, okay, now you do mental health consulting, you do life coaching, you expand that, you build a business. I'm building Healed University, that side note is launching in another week or so. Like he requires interest off of the things that he put in us. So um yeah, I just felt like I needed to chime in on that video, and I'll try to link it below because I know it's all over TikTok, all over whatever. So I'll try to link some parts that I seen below if I can. And yeah, chime in what you think.